Hello everybody, it's Alan again, aka Chita, and today I bring you another form tutorial. Now, for this tutorial we're going to be tackling some database programs. What we'll be doing, it's very simple really. We're going to allow the user to make change the location of the database at runtime, and we're going to save this, so if the user changes it once, the program will always remember where it was. So the user won't have to keep changing every time they run it if they change it once from the default location. So I've just created this form, and I added this line of code from a different project. It's just the bit that establishes the connection between VB and an Access database. So that's really what we're going to use. We're not actually going to look at the database and how to use the database, because that's a different tutorial. So as you can see, I also imported the system.data that you would need to establish the connection. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a class, and I'm going to call it globals. Now inside this class we're going to create a few global things, but first of all we're going to create a private variable. We're going to make a private shared dir for directory as string. Okay, now this will be the variable that will hold the location of our database, but declaring public variables is a bad programming practice, and we want to avoid it. And since this is very easy to avoid, I am going to. So make it private shared, and it needs to be shared. Shared is very important because we're going to use it in public shared functions and procedures, so they must be shared. Okay. Then we're going to do public shared sub. Sorry, let's make a function first. Function get dir and as string. Now I said this is very easy to avoid, and there's a reason. All we need to do is return dir. That's it. Now every time we need to call, every time we need the value for this variable, excuse me, all we need to do is global.getDir, and that will output the string inside of this variable, so the value of this variable. Okay, let's move on. Next we're going to, as I said, we're going to save the location, so the program will always know where the database is, even if the database is changed. And we're going to need to load this as well, because it wouldn't be any good for us on a text file on the debug folder. So if we're going to read and write to the text files, we're going to need to import a library. So let's do import system.io for input output. Alright, now let's make a sub to handle the save of the location. So what we're going to do is we're going to what's wrong with my typing today? Public shared sub, and that'll be save dir. And we're going to need a parameter here by val location as string, and this location will be used because, okay, if we're going to change the location of the variable, we're going to know exactly where it is, so we need to pass it through this procedure so we can save the appropriate location. So as I said, this will be the variable holding it, so we need to change that value first. So dir will be equal location. Now we can use dir to save the value. So I'm going to right click over here. I'm going to go open Windows Explorer to open this. And then we're going to go to the debug folder. Debug, and that's where it is. Now to right click, going to create a new text file. I'm going to call it dir for directory. Now the user won't ever need to see this text file. That's why it is even better to leave it in a debug folder, because it's almost a library program really. It's just a text file, but it's essential for the functionality of the program. So we're going to want it next to where the program is installed. It makes sense to keep it there. And then I'm going to put the location of just any default location where you want your database at. So let's pretend you have your database straight on your C drive. So I'll call that, and it'll be, I don't know, database dot mdb, I believe the extension for. I could be wrong though. That doesn't matter, because I am not actually going to tackle databases per se in this tutorial. We just need a location over there. So back to VB. Now that we have the text file over there, we're okay to save it. So let's make this dim sw as stream writer, and then we're going to update the value of the directory, and then we're going to use this to save to this. Actually, we can do it here. Thinking about it, we don't actually need that value. So there'll be new, and the path will be simply dir.txt, and that's all. Okay, now we can sw.writeLine, and what we're going to write will be our directory. That is all. So we're going to get the new location, going to save to our variable, and we're going to write it to our text file. Next, we're going to make a sub, public shared sub, to load this text file. So load here, and we don't need any parameters for that. And what we're going to do is dim stream reader, so SR as new stream reader, and the location will be dir.txt. There we go. So once again, we're using the same text file on the debug folder, or wherever you have the program installed once you release it. And we're going to do is we're going to say that dir will be equal to whatever that text file has written on it. So sr.readLine, and that's all for load. Surprisingly simple. Okay, now we can use it, all of those things over here. So we're going to take away this is the location of the old database I was using. Ignore that. Ignore that noise. And then we're going to put end globals.getDir. So now we have this connection string to the provider, the data source, and the destination of the data source, which is this. Alright, now I'm just quickly going to make bottom and the text file, text box, so I can show you how you can change. Miss it completely. It'll be on T. Apologize for my blindness. There we go, text box. In fact, I'm going to put another button. Be one for saving, one for loading. I'll make one here. So this will be our save. I'm not going to bother renaming them. I'm just going to save, and this will be load. Okay, I'm just going to rename this so it's easier for me. So that'll be txt lock for location. Okay, so when we press this, what we're going to do is we're going to save this with wherever we have written here. So we're going to do globals dot save to, and we have a parameter which will be the location, so that will be txt lock dot text, and that's how you save it. Sorry, I was not understanding why it was bugging me. Apologize, I had a long day. Okay, so that will be when we press this button. Now what happens if we press this button, then we want to load the database. In case, I don't know, in case you need to load it for some reason, I guess that will be easy. So globals dot load the, that's all. So that's what you need to do if you want to load, that's what you need to do if you want to save it. Let's just test it to make sure that everything's working, since I haven't actually tested the program yet. Just waiting to program response. Okay, so test this string save. Okay, so if we go there to the debug folder again, then debug d. Yes, see, that's why it's worth testing. I completely forgot to do something very important. We want to close it, so that's sw.close, and this would be sr.close. Apologize for that. Let's try it again. That's this string to save. Go back to the debug, open this, and test the string to. Cool. Final test. Let's try to change it to empty. So we should get an empty string over here, and we got an empty string. Cool. So we know everything's working, and I believe that's all I wanted to do for this tutorial. So if you like this tutorial, please don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps me. If you really like this tutorial and you want to see more as they come out, feel free to subscribe, and YouTube will inform you every time I upload something new. Feel free to leave any comments and suggestions and feedback that you might have on the comments below. I read them frequently, and I try to be as active as I can to respond them and improve from them. And I think that's all. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.